Hello everybody and welcome back to the chateau on what is, well, a bit of a grey and overcast day, and I am much more subdued than normal. I've been ill for a few days. I'm still ill. I'm full of cold and flu. So I've just been hiding in the chateau, and so when I had a bad back a few days ago, it wasn't really the start of my bad back, unless I did hurt it. I think it's probably the start of this. So it's not been massively productive in moving forward with my renovations, unfortunately. What I have been doing is trying to always utilise the time properly, because you have to, and try to get anything outstanding done that's not too energetic. So, as I do need to put the last of the stuff away for winter, winter has definitely arrived. I've had something on a long-term test, which I will now share, but also I get to look back at some footage that was in a much nicer weather earlier on in the year. So everyone knows that no matter what you do, no matter how well you renovate, a chateau will always have a lot of work to do, and a lot of it is the grounds. And as I've said a lot recently, trying to make it all as easy to manage as possible is the aim, and I'm going to try something out. Of course, I've moved the log pile, and I've got to go and do a service on the Range Rover before I tow the horse box bar down to the workshop. But the reasonably clear garden is always going to be something that you've got to try to maintain, and that is a good few hours a week. You know, it's quite a few hours a week, and that is something that if you didn't have to do, well, you'd be able to get other things done. So you might have seen it previously. I was testing something out that I was given to, well, test out the front. And now I'm going to give it the test of its life, because I'm going to use it in the back garden and hopefully save a load of my time. So the little robot mower. This is the Luba 2 all-wheel drive by Mammotion. And so far, when I've tested it out the front, it has been fantastic, even slightly long grass. So we're about to find out how good it is looking after his back garden, because this can do up to about 5,000 square metres. So I've quickly set it up here. I don't know if this is where I want it forever. This reference post RTK, that can actually mount on the side of the building, which would then, I'm thinking up there, which would then give me the ability to go front garden and back garden. But let's see how this works, because this is quite easy to set up, which means I don't mind doing it again. So I'm now going to get to drive this, because there are no perimeter wires for this, drive it round the edge of the moat, hopefully not put it in, and then set it off and see what happens. So wish me luck, otherwise it's going to go down moat. That's the area mapped out. I've driven all the way around the edge. I was going to do a smaller area, but I decided to do the whole back garden and see how it will deal with that. It's back on the charging station, because it wasn't fully charged when I started setting this up, unfortunately. So I'll let that charge a little bit, set it off on a high cut, see how it deals with this uneven and quite long back garden, all the obstacles, and go off and, while it's doing that, go off and get some other stuff done, which is the entire point of this. So one of the arguments, I mean, I think actually robot mowers are fantastic. Even people I know do gardening out here think the same thing, because it's just constant. People who don't really understand it, there's always negative stuff on the internet about how apparently they kill hedgehogs and animals, which, as you can see, doesn't even require the bar on the front to physically touch before it can sense it, because it's got LiDAR. So it actually sees in front of it and doesn't even get that point. So it will avoid stuff, which also means it will avoid toys that are left by kids, dogs, etc. out in the garden, which is fairly important. I have been testing this out in the front garden and it did very well at that. I think I might have to name it. So, I mean, you can literally see where it's been, and this grass is, I've got it set at quite a high setting because the grass is long, and ultimately that's, you know, it needs doing on a regular basis, which is why you have these robot mowers, because they constantly come out and cut fantastically well. But it hasn't been cut low, it's doing it, and I will adjust the height down once it's done the entire garden. If it'll do the entire garden, I'm yet to see. You can definitely see where it's been, can't you? And that's, you know, it's quite a high cut, and it's handling it well. I've got it on a very high setting, of course, because, you know, even with all the leaves falling, even this time of year, I appreciate it's a bit damp, but if we can get this staying low right until the winter, that can handle very short grass and the slight, you know, the ground being slightly wet and keep it really short, whereas a big mower can't. It'll just churn everything up. So we can get this looking great for winter. Will you look at that? This is a big area. It's 2,800 and something meters, this back garden, square meters. That particular robot will do 5,000, so hopefully it will actually be doing the piece of land over there and the other gardens, but this is the most important. It's handled this really, really, really well. It was long. I did a quite high cut, and now it's dried out for a day. I have set it off again on a lower cut again to try to get it down to a neat level, but I tell you what, it is genuinely shocking just quite how well it has done. So we'll just have to see what it's like after it's done the same thing again on a lower cut again. One of the things about a robot mower, especially in a big place like this, is I've got lots of different areas. So if I can't have, we've got 5 different gardens, kind of 5 different mowers, and this can do multiple different areas. So I guess I'm going to check out whether it can go from the back garden to the front garden. Right, so I've decided to give it an ultimate test. The grass out the front out here is, as you can see, very long, and really, if you have these, it's a good test, because if you have these running right up until the last cut of the year, keeping it as low as possible, you're going to start, it's going to be about this height when you get to start cutting in the spring. And you want to get up, if you're going to have one of these robots, you want to get this automated process going as quickly as possible, because the more it's cut and the shorter it is, the better your garden will look. So the earlier you want to start in the spring to get that going. So this will be an interesting test, because it is a bit damp because it's long, so it doesn't dry out. I'll put it on its highest setting and I'll do another cut afterwards, so it should be interesting to see how this does on what would essentially be, as you can see, it is a bit damp, what would be the start of spring. Good luck, robot. Well, we're back in the present, everybody, and as you know, for anyone that's ever watched this channel before, if I get something to test, I do it properly, which is why I've been having this for a long-term test. I didn't just go, hey, oh, look at it, it's fantastic in the summer. I've done it for a long period of time. And anyone else that also has been watching this channel for a long time will know the grounds are always the biggest problem. And actually, we know, I mentioned on a regular basis, the grounds here are the big problem. Grass, not so much a problem, more very, very time consuming. And to be able to find ways to cut down your time spent on what are quite simple jobs, like hoovering and mopping inside the house, which is why I have a robot for that. And then this robot mower, which as it turns out has worked very well, gives you all the time to do all the other things. So ordinarily we are a week before Christmas, and ordinarily the grass in the back garden, because it is the one thing that I just cannot get to this time of year all the time, is fairly high and looking terrible. Well, it's just not. It's obviously it's not exactly a low cut, but that's fine. I mean, and literally that robot mower is still going strong. We are very much nearing last cuts of the year, and I haven't, because of both dampness and the amount of leaves and twigs, I have had it going on a reasonably high cut. But if I was using a proper mower at this point, I wouldn't even be able to get in here, because it's quite a waterlogged garden, as you can see from the poor mower's wheels. But it is fine for this. It's light and it's going for it, and it's keeping it low just before the winter, whereas a normal mower, I would just be destroying the garden to do it. So it's really doing its job. There are so many other features I could explain, and it's got a little camera on the top of it so you can see where it's going. You can ask it to do things remotely. It charges automatically. You just let it go. It's done all of the different areas so far that I've had mapped out, and you just go and it does it, and you can set it for weekly. I set it off manually because I've got gates that I need to leave open and a dog that needs to be inside. But other things you can just set this to go constantly, and it's looking great for winter. Really, it does, obviously, if it's wet, of course, you will need to clean it a little bit more this time of year than you would in the middle of the summer. That's to be expected, like every mower. But I've never had a garden look this good here at this time of year, and it's still going. And that means this can start earlier in the spring, which will mean the summer it will look even better. And honestly, this has already saved me countless hours trying to get this good, and in a point where I wouldn't have done it. And it's done the front, it's done out by the chapel, it's done everything, it's done all different sections. So when everything is properly clear, I'll be very happy. I might even make a little ramp so it can go across the bridge and do the camping area. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think it'll constantly be working at that point based on how long it takes to do that, charge, go, all the rest of it, but that's what it's there for. It's doing the work while you can't. So I'll show you the front garden now as well. I obviously haven't set it off in here quite as much, mainly because of my dog. But, you know, I need the gates closed for the dog, and he wants to be outside. I don't want the last of it. However, you can see out here, it's nice and low, and it was really long when I started setting it off in here. So it really does do its job. And that's made me very happy. So that is my very long-term test. 4 months, I think, at least. And through multiple seasons now of that particular robot mower. There is a link in the description below, and as I said, I don't bother unless it is a product worth having. I won't show it here. And to be honest, today was a very, very, very good day to show it, because while I'm not getting anything done because I'm not particularly well, something is still happening which I would have to be spending my man hours doing. So it's just another example of where that is particularly useful, and part of the process of trying to make the chateau easier to maintain every day with a lack of staff, as no one has these days from a place like this. I'm going to go and light the fire, sit in front of the warmth with the honey and lemon and painkillers, and that robot's going to be carrying on cutting my grass because we're nearing the last cut, so it'll be put away for the winter. So it's doing its job. I'm going to do a lack of any jobs, and hopefully I'll be back to fighting fit again tomorrow. See you next time. Thanks for watching.